Wishing everybody, I think, a gesunte winter. That's the official designation, official greeting for post Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah, and we are catching up the Amudim from the last 2 days of Yom Tov, from Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. I apologize for the croakiness of my voice. Baruch Hashem, feeling fine. My voice is well Simchas Torah out, but that doesn't mean that we cannot learn. And we are continuing with the Gemara at the bottom of Mendal Amud Aleph, with the Gemara concluded with a limud based on the pasuk by with regards to a Nazir Mishras. With the Gemara had said, "V'hai Mishras lahachi uda asa." Mishras was really coming to teach you this din. That's not possible. That tam ki ikar, meaning the din of Nazir. We need this not to tell you the din of Mishras by Nazir alone, but litain tam ki ikar, but to teach you the din of tam ki ikar in general. What exactly is tam ki ikar? Says Rashi, "Lazos taima shel isur ki ikare u mamashat," to make the tam of the isur have the same, the flavor of the isur, exactly like the isur itself. Meaning, if something tastes like it's asur, then it's asur. Something tastes like it has bacon in it, because there's a little bit of bacon, so then it is asur as if the whole thing's bacon. What's the din? She'im shara anavim b'mayim. If the nazir soaked his grapes in water, v'yesh v'em tam yain, and now that water tastes like wine, chayiv, he is liable for drinking it. Michlal atadon l'chal haTorah kula. From here, you understand the same din from the wine of a Nazir to all of the dinim in the Torah. Says the Gemara, because of a Nazir whose isur is only a temporary prohibition. It's only until he's done being a Nazir. Vein isur hana, and it is not an isur of hana, meaning he is allowed to buy and sell wine. He just cannot drink it. And he could go ask a chacham and get rid of his vow of being a Nazir. In all of these cases, the Torah said, even though you could be makel about all of these things in theory, they are not as strict as bacon. The Torah said that the flavor of the wine that has influenced the water is going to make the whole water asur as if it's wine. Says the Gemara, then obviously kilayim, with regards to forbidden mixtures of grains and grapes, she'isur isur olam, that the isur is a permanent isur, v'isur isur hana, and you are not allowed to get any benefit from it. Ve'ein heter l'isur, and there's no way of getting rid of this isur. Ein din she'aseh tam ki ikar would not make sense. Would it not make sense that this isur would have tam ki ikar? Says the Gemara, v'hu hadin la'orla b'shtayim. And the same would apply by Orla, even though it only has 2 of these arguments. Rashi points out that Orla is asur to use, and there's no way of getting around it. The third argument, however, that Orla is not permanently forbidden, is not necessarily true, because Orla is only asur. The tree is only asur with Orla until the 4th year, netar, or certainly about the 5th year. This is machlokes about Rashi Taisus, but that is the Shittas Rashi. Says the Gemara, Hamani, whose opinion is this? Rabbanani, this is the opinion of the Rabban. Rabbi Yochanan the Amar Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Yochanan, who said his Shita at the bottom of Mem Gimel Beis, goes in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Says the Gemara, hey Rabbi Akiva, which Rabbi Akiva we're talking to? If you're talking about the Rabbi Akiva of the Mishnah, that the Mishnah told us Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Akiva says, that if you have a Nazir that soaked his bread in wine, and there's enough of the wine bread mixture in order to make it into a kazais. Chayiv, he would be liable for eating it. Says the Gemara, who says that this is from the bread and the wine? Meaning, who's going to say that this opinion that Rabbi Yochanan wants to say is a din of chatzi shir? I mean, that chatzi zayis heter is mitzaref to chatzi zayis iser. Who says that you learned this from Rabbi Akiva? Who says that it's chayiv because he had pas and yain together that made up a kazayis? Maybe he's had a kazayis' worth of wine in that piece of bread. And if you want to say that, yeah, okay, the Rabbi Akiva is saying that he's violated the issue of drinking wine just from wine itself. That's obvious. What are you coming to teach me? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva is telling you a chiddush that even though the Nazir had a kazayis of wine, but it was not by itself, it was with the tarovis, it's in a mixture, it would still be chayiv. So that doesn't tell you anything conclusively about Rabbi Akiva's opinion vis-a-vis chatzi zayis heter and chatzi zayis isur joining together. Says the Gemara, Ela Rabbi Akiva the Brisa. It's the Rabbi Akiva in the Brisa, the Tanya, because the Brisa tells us Rabbi Akiva teaches nazir sheshar pitavi yain. If you have a nazir that soaked his bread in wine, and ate the kazayis of bread and wine, chayiv is going to be liable. Then how does Rabbi Akiva know the din of tam ki'ikar? Says the Gemara, meaning if he's not learning it from the din of the Nazir one, that is learning chatzi zayis heter, can join with chatzi zayis isur. So how does Rabbi Akiva know the din of tam ki'ikar? Says the Gemara, yaliv mi basa b'chalav. He learns it from the general isur of basa b'chalav. Says the Gemara, why? Lav tamu v'almu, because the meat has a little bit of flavor of milk. You cannot see the milk anymore. It's gone. It's dissolved. Where did it go? It's in the meat. Now there's a little bit of flavor of milk there. V'asr, and the whole thing now becomes asr. So we say, so too, this is the din by all foods. Rabbi Akiva learns the din of tam ki'ikar from the fact that the Torah has an isur bichlal called basa b'chalav. Says the Gemara, mi basa b'chalav le'gamrina. From basa b'chalav you cannot learn anything. Why? Says the Gemara, the Dirshu, because the entire institution of basa b'chalav is a chiddush. It's all a novel idea. Umay chiddush, what's so novel about it? So we say, if you want to say it's because each one by itself is mutter. And they're only going to be also when you join them together. Says the word kilayim nami. Then kilayim, forbidden mixtures of grapes and grains planted together, has the same din. If you have grape planted or if you have grain planted, both of them are fine. It's only going to be also when you plant them together. So the chiddush of basa b'chalav cannot be that both of them are heter, and it's only also when you put them together. So we say, rather the din is that if you soaked meat in milk all day, it would be mutter. Bashale, but if you cooked it, bishale aser, then the bishal would be aser. Now we should point out, it doesn't mean the whole day, and then you wouldn't be aser. Then it would be mutter to eat. Says Rashi, you're allowed to leave it meat soaking milk for all day. You're allowed, Rashi says, to soak the meat in the milk. And you wouldn't even have violated eating until says Rashi, because the Torah says that it's only also if you cook them together, even if it is put flavor into it. It's dim the rabbanon to be osir. What does that mean? Is that in general we have a principle that kavish k'mavusha, that if you soaked something in a liquid, then it's going to get the flavor of it. That is going to transfer the flavor. What's the chiddush of the rabbanon? Is the etorli kali yom b'chal v'shari, that if you soaked it all day in milk, it would be still mutter it would be mutter to eat at a level of taras, even though the flavor of milk is in the meat. But if you cooked it, also, then the moment that you cooked it, it became also. Rabbi Akiva Nami Basa B'chalav by the Chiddush. According to Rabbi Akiva, Basa B'chalav is just a Chiddush. Eliyalav mi Giyulei Nachrim. Now, he's not learning from Basa B'chalav, he's learning from Giyulei Nachrim. He's learning from the dinim by Midian. When the Midianite army was vanquished by the Jewish people in the days of Moshe Rabbeinu tells them that they have to kasher the kelim. Says the Gemara, Giyulei Nachrim, with regards to the vessels of these non-Jews, Lav Tamim Ba'almahu, it's not just flavor that's in there. It's not just flavor. There's also trefa stuff. So we say Vaser. So we say Hachanami Leishna. Meaning, what's the Isur? The Gemara question the Lav Tamim Ba'almahu is they're not only, the only thing that you have there is just the flavor, meaning if there's stuff that's also, you have to clear out the stuff that's also. What's left that you have to kasha is the flavor, and nevertheless the flavor is also. So the Gemara Hachanami lo shna. That's true about everything. V'Rabbanan, and according to the Rabbanan, Giyulei Nachrim nami chidushu. Kasher and kelim is also a chiddush. Kol noisen tam lifka mutar, because meikar adin should be that if the flavor is disgusting, it should be mutar. Digamrin min nevela, because we learn from the din of nevela. Once something tastes disgusting, then it's not going to be asur anymore. We learn that from the Veda. And yeah, with regard to the kelim of minyan, you have to kasher it, even though the flavor is gross, after 24 hours. It says the Gemara Rabbi Akiva, Rav Chiya and Berei de Rav Huna. According to Rabbi Akiva, he says he holds like the din of Rav Chiya, the son of Rav Huna. The Amar also Torah ela b'kidei Bas Yoma. No, the Torah only said that you have to kasher the kelim if it has been used within 24 hours. Hilkach lav neisedam lifgamu. Therefore, it's not going to be a gross flavor. The flavor is not spoiled. V'Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, kidei Bas Yoma nami lo yafshar kidei Bas Yoma, a pot that is only 1 day old. Meaning Kidei Bas Yoma, a pot that was used recently within that 1 day. Flavor is only 1 day old. Loi Efshar, the Loi Pagma Purta. It is impossible that it didn't get spoiled a little bit. Meaning, how fresh is fresh? Meaning within a couple of minutes, it's already going to be a little bit gross. And nevertheless, the Torah says that you have to kasher it. So Amalei Rav Achabar to Rav Avi Rav Ashi. It says Rav Acha, the son of Rav Avi to Rav Ashi, the Rabbanan Ishmael Rabbi Akiva. From the Rabbanan we hear about Rabbi Akiva, mi loy Rabbanan, but didn't the Rabbanan say Mishas litain tam kiikar? That the pasuk about the Nazir tells you, Mishas tells you that tam kiikar. From here you can learn about all the other dinim in the Torah. Rabbi Akiva, according to Rabbi Akiva, also let's say Mishas, that from Mishas you learn that a little bit of heter joins with a little bit of Isser to make a full shear to be Isser. From here you can learn that this applies to all other the Isserim in the Torah. The question being, why did Rabbi Yochanan then say that this is only about Nazir? He limits it to Nazir. He doesn't extend it to all of the Isserim in the Torah, since he seems to be holding like the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Says the Gemara, Amarle, so Rav Ashi says back to Rav Acha, Amarle says to him, Mishum da'avei Nazir v'chatas shniksur abam ke'echad, because Nazir and Chatas are two psukim that come together to teach us one din, ve'ein melamdin, and therefore they cannot tell you about anything else. Because if you have two psukim come to teach you the same din, that is going to limit it to just that din. It says the Gemara, Nazir had the Amran, with the din of Nazir had the Amran. That's exactly what we just said. Chatas mahi, where do you see the same din by Chatas? The Tanya, with a sin offering, the Tanya. Says the Bryce as follows, anything that touches the flesh of the Chatas is going to have a din of Kodesh. How does it have the din of kodesh just by touching it. You might think even if it didn't absorb any flavor from that chatas. As long as it touched the flesh. Now, it's only going to be also once it touches and absorbs some of the flavor. Shimsula hi tipasel. So that if the chatas becomes puzzle, then whatever it has touched is also puzzle. And if it is kosher, then it can be eaten like all of the stringency, like all of the chumras of the chatas. So if you have a kohen that is cooking his korban chatas on the same grill as his korban toida, so the korban toida can be eaten anywhere in Yerushalayim, and the korban chatas has to be eaten inside of the climb of the Beis Hamikdash. So now the whole korban toida has to be eaten. The steak has to be eaten as if it is kachim, like it's chatas, and not like it is kachim kalim, like the toida. Says the Gemara, "V'Rabbanan nami lehavi nazir v'chatas shnei ksuvim abam gechad." And for the Rabbanan, you have these two psukim that teach you the same din. Ve'im melamdin. Why? And they can't teach about everything else. So we say no. They'll say Amri. They'll tell you Hanu mitzvah shrichi. They're not going to tell you exactly the same din. They're trying to tell you that the same din applies to these cases, even though you would not be able to figure out one from the other. You wouldn't be able to figure out one from the one of them from the other. Rashi says, we're going to explain. They're not two psukim to teach you the same din. Says Rashi, you wouldn't be able to learn one from the other. The name of the Mahadir Ksuv Leidach, that you would say that the Torah is repeating itself. And you couldn't learn from the other one. You could learn that you would be able to say, if not for the fact that it's said by both, you would have said, no, the Torah is only saying about this din. Says the Rabbi Kiva, my tzrichi. According to Rabbi Kiva, what's the need? Why according to Rabbi Kiva, does not like this, my tzrichi. How are they both going to be necessary? Says the Rabbi Shlam, because of Rachman Bechatos, it's well understood that if the Torah spoke about the korban chatas, like Gomer Nazirina, and Nazir would never be able to learn from this, the Cholim Kachim like Gamrina, because the wine of the Nazir is Chulin, and Kachim is Kachim, and you don't learn din from Chulin, about Chulin from Kachim, because Kachim has a whole different world. Maybe by Kachim you have to be more machmer. So therefore the Torah should only have said by Nazir. So we take chatas. And then chatas would be able to be learned from it. And would be able to have the same din. It says, you see that all of the other Isra in the Torah, you learn from Nazir. Says the Gemara, and v'tezi chatas, then chatas would be able to be learned from it. And you'll be able to learn from because all of the Yisurim in the Torah are learned from Nazir. Says the Rabbanan Armilach, and the Rabbanan would say to you, no, you also need it to be the other way around. Both of them are required. You need both. From chatas you learn that heter is mistarf leser, the little bit of chatas that falls into the korban toida is going to make the whole thing like a korban chatas. And you cannot learn the din of chulin from kachim. Mishras, and what you learn from Mishras, that's what you learn tam ki'ikar. From here you can learn from everything else in the Torah. What about Rabbi Akiva? So we say no, he needs both of these psukim to teach you about the din of heter being mistarf le'isur. Because these are two psukim that come together. And any time that you have two psukim that come together that to teach you the same din, you cannot learn from them. Amar le Rav Ashi Rav Kana, says Rav Ashi Rav Kana, Elahad Tanya, what about what we taught? Mikol Asher Yasem Gevrayan, Michal Son about Zag, Limaid Al Isur Nashim Shim Sarfin Sem Seh, What we learn from the pasuk from Chatzanim va'adzag teaches you that they all join together, that the grape pits and the grape rinds all join together. So we say, Hashtan Rabbi Kiva, according to Rabbi Kiva, I don't understand the pasuk. If Isser ve'eter are joined together, then Isser and Isser for sure is going to join together. Why do you need to teach this thing uniquely? He says to him, Isser ve'eter b'basachas. That a forbidden food and a permissible food join together only if you eat them together. Isser ve'isser, the chiddush that Rabbi Kiva is teaching now is Isser ve'isser b'zachar zeh. That even if you had a little bit of Isser and then another little bit of Isser, even though you didn't eat them together, you could still join them together to have violated the Isser. Okay, says the Mishnah as follows. Matnesit. Batzek shebe sidke areva. If you have dough that is in the cracks of a kneading bowl that you make the chalas in. If there is enough dough that's an olive's worth in one crack of the bowl, chayev levar, then you have to destroy that on Pesach, in advance of Pesach. Ve'im, right? And if not, batal b'miyuta, then it's going to be batal because it is so tiny. V'chein in tuma, and so too with regards to tuma. Im makbid love, if he cares about it, chaytzit, then it's going to be chaytzit. It's going to impede the water from touching the bowl. If he cares about this little bit of chametz, and then you cannot tovel it until you remove it. But if you want it to be there, meaning you want it to be there to close a crack in the bowl, then it has the same din as the bowl itself. Now there are two ways of understanding this Mishnah, because we said two different din. One is the din of if it's a kazayas, then you would need to burn it. And the other is if you want it to be there, then you don't need to remove it. So which one of these is the primary din? Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, says Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, that we taught this din, that if there is an olive in one place, you have to get rid of it before Pesach. That's only if it wasn't, you have an olive's worth, a full olive's worth, that you don't need to be there to hold the bowl together. But if it's not part of the bowl, and you don't need to get rid of it, it is part of the bowl. This implies that if it's less than a kazay's worth, even if it is not in a place that you needed to fill in a crack in the bowl, you don't have to get rid of it. Less than kazay's, you never need to get rid of. That is option number one of learning the Mishnah. But there are those that thought it the opposite way around, according to the end of the Mishnah. And if there isn't, if he doesn't want it to fill in the crack, then it's batal b'miyut. Amarav Yehuda Mishmul, says Rabbi Yehuda Mishmul, that's only true if it is in a place that he wants to hold the bowl together. If he doesn't want that piece to be there, if it's not necessary for the bowl, for the structural integrity of the bowl, he's going to have to get rid of it. Michlal, what does that mean? The kazai is that if there would be kazais in the bowl, even if it is there for the structural integrity of the bowl, you'd have to get rid of it, because the only heter to keep it, even in a place that you need it, is if it's less than the kazais. Now the Gemara says, you have brisas that support both readings, both directions of the brisa. You have a brisa that teaches like the Lishna Kama, which is Batzek Shebe Sidke Areva. If you have dough that's in the cracks of the kneading bowl, if it's there to strengthen the bowl, it's not going to impede the water from getting to the bowl, meaning it's not making a problem to take it to the mikveh to be mitayr. Ve'in over, and you don't violate any Yisurim and Pesach. And if it is not there to strengthen the bowl, then it would create a problem for mikveh, and you would violate Pesach. Where do you say this? B'kazais. That is only if it is a kazais worth. But if it was less than a kazais, even if it is just stuck to the bowl, but you don't need it for the structural integrity of the bowl, it's a meaningless piece. It's not going to create a problem for the mikveh, and you're not going to violate anything on Pesach. And we have a brisa that goes like the second way of reading the Mishnah, which is if you have dough that is stuck to the bowl, if it is there for the sake of the bowl, it's not going to make a problem for mikveh, and it's not going to make a problem for Pesach. If it is in a place where it is not going to be reinforcing the bowl, but if it is in a place where it's not for the if it's not for the bowl, then it is chaytz v'over. But when do you say this din? But if it's less than kazais, I will be kazais. But if it's more than a kazais, I feel chaytz v'over. If it is in a place, even if it is in a place that is necessary for the bowl, if it's larger than kazais, you're going to violate both mikveh and Pesach. Says the Gemara, Kashan Ardadi. You have these two brises; they clash with each other. Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, I have a good solution for you. Some kilsa mikame chamirta. Get rid of the brisa that's mekel, and put in place, institute the brisa that's machmer, that a kazais, no matter where it is going to be awesome. Says the Gemara that Rav Yosef got upset with Rav Huna for the suggestion, and Be'ezer Shem's Baruch, we will continue with the rest of Mem Ham and Beis in the next shir. Hopefully my voice will sound a little bit better by then. Everybody should have a wonderful evening.